The reality is there are going to be some jobs that disappear. But I think there are 2-3 other elements that we've got to think through which are very important in the disruption that the technology causes, right? One is how do we take people along, right? Because the reality is there are going to be some jobs that disappear. You know, somebody described this to me really well, and I was talking to the CEO of LinkedIn and I was talking to the CEO of Manpower Group, which is Jonas Pricing. And they were both talking about how the one big question they keep getting asked is, what is going to happen to jobs in the context of AI? And I love the way they described it. They said, you've got to think about every job not in the form of titles or roles, but in the form of tasks. So you can be the executive chairman of a company, you can be a fresher joining from campus. All of us have certain tasks in our jobs, right? And we've got to think about the tasks that we believe will exist, where there will need to be human intervention. And there'll be tasks in our job which can be much better done by a machine. And the more tasks that we have in our job that disappear, the more likely that job is going to be less relevant. So the importance of thinking about jobs that are going to be less relevant and how do we take people along is going to be an incredibly important responsibility for governments, for companies, to how do we reskill and repurpose people that, for the future to be relevant. And the second thing that I think we've got to think about very intentionally is just how do we make the adoption of the AI just safer, right? How do we ensure that there's an elimination of bias and discrimination in the data sets that we use? How do we ensure that it is private and safe and secure? And I will tell you, at least from an enterprise perspective, that's becoming a hugely important conversation. Because most enterprises are panicked about the fact that if they get something wrong and they derail, it will deeply retard how quickly they're willing to adopt and they are able to adopt on scale. So I'm to summarize, hugely optimistic about the opportunity that it creates. I think the timelines are still to be determined. And I think the one thing we've got to think through is really how do we take both people along and how do we create the right guardrails to make it adoptable on scale quickly.